It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Welcome to my sitcom.
Yeah, pretty much. All right.
Cool.
Are we ready?
Are we ready? I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Are y'all ready?
Let's do this.
Think so.
Ready.
Thanks. Are you ready? Are you
Yep.
ready? Are you ready? Are we ready? Is Chico ready?
Yes.
Okay.
He's as settled as it's going to get.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Let's do it.
Sauce.
Okay, y'all. Hello. This is Nina with Candid and Curious. I am your host. And today we are not at Gemini Studios, which we typically are. I know. But we are in a very beautiful space, a very inspiring space. And I am here with my amazing producer and co-host, Chibi.
And she appears. No, we're taking the show on the road, which is very exciting. We've moved the studio.
We have.
Into a space.
A little bit for today's episode.
A really special space.
No, it's wonderful.
I don't want to spoil it.
Don't spoil it. Our guests today are visionaries who've shaped the cultural landscape of San Antonio and beyond. One has carved entire histories into wood, pulling from life on the US-Mexico border. Another challenges erasure and identity through powerful installations confronting Native history and assimilation. And another, a master printmaker, has spent decades pushing the boundaries of storytelling in visual form while educating generations of artists. At the center of it all, the leader who stewards a space where all these voices thrive, collide, and inspire. Today, I'm joined by Mary, the executive director of the Contemporary at Blue Star, along with Ricky Armendariz, Joe Harjo, and Meredith Dean. Thank y'all so much. Welcome to the show. Yeah.
You can't say hello.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Are y'all ready to get candid?
Let's do it.
All right. Awesome. Okay, so let's jump right into it. All right, so we are here in San Antonio, but everybody kind of comes from a little bit of a different, like you're from El Paso originally, Ricky.
I am, yeah.
And then Joe, you're originally from
Oklahoma City.
Meredith.
Kansas City.
And
St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. So, but we're all here in San Antonio, which is awesome because I love San Antonio, and it's amazing that you have brought your art here. So how did y'all get to be here in this great city?
Let's start with Meredith. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I married Dennis Olson, and I moved here in 1990 and started teaching at UTSA at that point. And here I am all these years later.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Joe?
So I came to San Antonio for graduate school in 2009. I had a drawing mentor in my undergrad who, when I started applying for grad school, she insisted that I applied to UTSA. And mainly because of the art community in San Antonio. She raved about it. She said it was so supportive. And that was very different than the community that I experienced in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Who was that person, just out of curiosity?
Let me think of her name. She was incredible. I'll have to think about it.
We want to know because everyone knows everyone in San Antonio.
That's true. All right, Ricky?
Well, I've been coming here since I was a little kid, and I have family here in San Antonio. It's like a green El Paso, where I'm originally from. 20, 30 years ago, it used to rain here like monsoon rain. There was moss on the trees. There were moss in the cracks of the rocks and stuff. And I was fascinated, coming from a desert Like this place was magical, you know? And so when I moved here, it was in-state tuition, and I thought, okay, yeah, Latinos are here, you know, this is like a green El Paso, and that's really kind of how I transitioned into this place. But, you know, I immediately found that this art community, you know, I got introduced to artists and professors at UTSA, and it literally was transformative for me as a young person, you know, and I immediately knew that was absolutely the direction I was going to follow.
Yeah.
And this is as an undergrad. Like I was originally at UTEP for a number of years, and then I transferred over to UTSA for a number of years, and I took classes under Dennis Olson.
Right.
And he was really important to me, you know, in my maturation process and all that. And so, yeah, I mean, it was, I fell in love with this place.
That's awesome.
And are you a native San Antonian, Mary?
I came to San Antonio the first time a long time ago to go to Trinity University. And so I've lived here longer now than any other place. So this is my home.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Nina?
Born and raised.
Born and raised San Antonio.
Born and raised, yeah.
And so I was born in Guadalajara and grew up in Laredo, down on the border, another border town. But I think that speaks to the power of San Antonio, the multiculturalness of it, right? And how it draws, like once you get here, it's really hard to leave.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
you know, like Mary, like you alluded to, this is kind of your home now. And so I'm curious as to, for all three of you, like how has San Antonio changed or influenced your artistic voice? Let's start with Joe.
I think the main thing that I would say about San Antonio is that community that that mentor so long ago mentioned. She was absolutely right. When I got here, I felt so much support. There were artist-run spaces. There were experimental spaces, places for people to begin. And I didn't see that a lot in my hometown. So I think feeling fully supported, you know, by other artists and by curators and by, you know, people within the art institutions, it was very important. And, you know, having a place where you feel like you belong, I would say, is how, you know, San Antonio really was that place for me.
That's amazing. What about you, Meredith?
Well, UTSA was wonderful. As far as I was concerned, it was a very compatible faculty. It was the first time I had taught before, but first time I'd really taught over a period of time. And I loved it.
And do you feel like the city's culture or, you know, the vibrancy here, like, has it influenced your art in any way?
Probably.
Subconsciously.
Yes. I think so. Cool. Yes, it has.
What about you, Ricky?
I had a professor at UTSA, and I didn't have many role models in El Paso, professors that I could look to and go, I want to be like that, right? And when I moved to San Antonio, there was a professor, his name was Dr. Jacinto Quiarte. And he was like this Don Quixote of a figure, quite literally. He looked like Don Quixote with the silver hair and the beard and the crazy eyes. And
he was in our office.
And he, you know, he was kind of a big deal. And there was a lot of people, you know, within our department that were a big deal. But I remember thinking of him and feeling like, okay, I can do that. Like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be that. And for a little while there, I was an art historian major, you know, like, you know, at a certain point, I was talking about art rather than making art. I was making art, but I felt kind of that sweet spot to talk about art. And he was really kind of the guide for me. And he was, for me, what San Antonio represented, right? Like, he was this individual that was learned, and he was in academia, and he was doctorate, and I didn't have anybody within my family or anybody I knew that was anything like that. later I learned that, there were people around me that were self-taught artists, like, my family knew Luis Jimenez and various other people in El Paso. El Paso is a very fertile ground for artists. We've got, Gaspar, and we've got Margarita Cabrera, the younger crop of artists that are kind of
Something
moving
in the water over there.
Yeah, there truly is.
A number of musicians too.
True.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was pretty ignorant of that whole fact. And so,
Sure.
but, Jacinto Quillarte walked on water for me, and I really wanted to be him. But when I looked at him, I saw San Antonio. I saw a mix of cultures. His wife called him Jack. It wasn't Jacinto, which was fascinating to me because of the whole development that I had gone through, being Ricky for a little while and being Ricardo Antonio Armendariz for a little while. And, and just finding your identity was challenging. And when I saw him, I was like, I want to be that. And so, he was the one that I followed, and he really was at the time the only one in higher education that I looked to. I'm sure there was other professors in other programs and other disciplines and other departments, right? But in our department, it was a little bit more insulated at the time, right? Things changed. But yeah, that was, it was an amazing time.
The school was very different at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Very, very much smaller.
It was very small.
Yeah.
How many students in the program then?
Compared
to now?
That's really, any number I come up with would be just an exaggeration. But, it was 6.
Yeah, a tight group of 10.
We had a really small department, and as back then, I'm sure, even now, but back then, I'm sure that we called ourselves a Hispanic serving institution, right? And now we live up to it, right? But back then, it was challenging, We had our president, Dr. Romo, and I just had dinner with Rolando Briceño the other day, and we were talking about, and the first time I met, Rolando Briceño is this really prominent artist here in town, and he's really, really political, and he's a family friend, and the first time that I saw him as an adult, he handed me a card that said cultural adjuster. and
he still goes, he still thinks of that as his role in his title. So
and that's an important role.
Yeah.
I mean, when things are level, then things are level. But at this moment, and so that was my upbringing. I was following, in the footsteps of Dr. Quillarte. I was looking to Dr. Ricardo Romo as a role model. I didn't have a whole lot of role models, and these were the people that I followed.
Yeah. So what about our city? What about, the unique energy here, the creative energy, compared to other places? How is that different for y'all? I know it's probably different for everybody, but y'all traveled. You've done your fair share of traveling, and created in different spaces. And obviously, I know y'all were kind of talking earlier, and you said that, your art's not going to be the same in 10 years. Right? So how has that evolved for you, and how has San Antonio really kind of helped shape that?
Oh my goodness. Well, I came from St. Louis and Washington University, and I had just recently gotten my master's in printmaking. And San Antonio felt very small at that point, interestingly enough.
Right.
And I had been in St. Louis for a long time, since I was in undergraduate school, and I got my printmaking degree 20 years later. So I'd been there a long time. It was just such a different atmosphere. And I kept thinking, the trees, they're so tiny. What happened? Because it's just a completely different landscape.
Right.
And So yeah.
Yeah.
I like to call San Antonio the biggest small town you'll ever live in.
Absolutely.
Because it totally feels like that.
It
Like
is.
such a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
While also, it's a major, we're about to have 3 arenas in this city. you
Right.
know? Like,
Well, Southwestern Bell, I think, had just moved here,
Okay.
and there were signs up welcoming St. Louis
Yeah.
at that point, which was very interesting. It was,
a whole thing.
I felt welcomed.
That's awesome. What about you guys?
This is Joe. I think I would say that one thing, Mary, my mentor, drawing mentor from my undergraduate, April Donovan.
Thank you, April.
I don't know if you guys met her or anything, but she went by A.D. Donovan when she was my teacher. But I would say that San Antonio, at least in my experience, and again, I've been here since 2009, I felt that, the city cultivates and it's different. It's different than Houston. It's different than Dallas and Austin in so many ways. And I think that part of it is that kind of closeness, that small town,
Yeah.
big city kind of identity that we have. I think a lot of people are proud of that too. But it was very different. When I got here, I felt like my mentors had introduced me to a lot of contemporary work, but not nearly as much as I would receive here. Ricky was one of my professors when I was in my MFA studies, introduced me to so many different artists. But I definitely would say a difference is that cultivation, and a difference, I guess, is, if you, in Oklahoma, if you went to school there for your undergrad or your BFA program, then typically you wouldn't go there for your MFA. They wanted you to go somewhere else. And I think that maybe for the demographic and the way Oklahoma is kind of structured, that's probably a smart thing.
Right.
But here I felt like welcomed and challenged and given, It was a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true of a lot of schools, higher learning. They encourage you to. There's a kind of an idea that you've learned all you can learn from your undergrad professors, and that you need to expand. I mean, I remember a conversation with Ken Little, who was my professor when I was an undergrad, and he's like, "You need to get out of Texas, like now."
Like yesterday.
Run for your life.
And I took his advice. I went to Colorado for a little while, and I was there for a number of years doing my terminal degree, and I came back but it was the best advice I'd ever had. In that, Texas was its own country for a little while. Like we still
It still is.
We still feel this on some
Spirit.
level, right? That we are special.
Yeah.
And San Antonio and all the major cities in Texas, like it's such a small community. There's the arts community share, right? The art historians share, the artists share, and even though we're larger than most countries in Europe, we act like it's a small place, right? So you got to watch your language. You got to not burn bridges.
Yes.
You got to
Sure.
be supportive. And when I moved to San Antonio, I realized that this place was the perfect home base, right? Because it has great weather. It's got great food. The people are nice. The cost of living is relatively low. And I learned from other artists that I had met that were a little bit more established that when I was entering a career as an artist, that it really didn't matter where you landed, right? That as long as you kept a tie to Chicago, to New York, to LA, to wherever you were exhibiting, that was the important thing, right? It didn't really matter where you laid your head. And I realized that San Antonio was like, and this was before the amazing city it is now.
Right.
You know, like 30 years ago, like it was like, is it going to be amazing or is it going to be amazing? Question mark. Right. And it turned out to be incredible. You know, the maturation of the city and how the city really supports artists. You know, there's a number of institutions here. The Contemporary at the Blue Star is incredible. Who, you know, I'm on the board at the Contemporary right now. Ruby City, right? Yeah. You know, the Asama, McNay, right? You know, there's all sorts of institutions that really like support the regional artists in addition to supporting the national and the international artists,
Yes.
right? And it, you know, when I tell my students that you're living in a place that is really in the hotbed of a lot of things that are happening, really like on the cusp of all that's contemporary. And they look at me like with starstruck eyes, like they don't understand or they don't even believe that this is actually happening. And I go, I know that. I was you like 30 years ago. I was you. You know, when Art Pace would put out a call and they, you know, would invite, you know, Daniel Martinez or some other, you know, highfalutin artists and I would go like, I am able to talk to Daniel Martinez. Get out of here, dude. You know, or I'm able to talk to Candy Wiley. Get out of here. Like, you know, like what? Like it blew my mind how we sometimes are like kind of a lightning rod for really important artists, right? And art activities. And I've got more to tell about the Contemporary later about that. But it's just like, I am so proud of this place. Yeah. And I never knew that was going to happen. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we want to get into the idea of like contemporary art and its impact right now. But speaking of space and the contemporary,
right?
Mary, I would love to hear a little bit about like why the contemporary, I hate to put it so bluntly, why it matters for artists and for audiences.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about what a special place San Antonio is, and the Contemporary is rooted in that story. It was founded by artists in San Antonio. So it was founded as an organization for artists, by artists, when there was not another platform for the presentation of their work, a nonprofit space, not a commercial gallery. And I think that kind of coming together and artist centricity and giving a platform to elevate ideas, you know, from the community that is very diverse and, you know, in a system where there's not always, you know, we don't have a good commercial gallery presence or maybe some other, or like a large, you know, a New York style collector base here. The Contemporary fills that void. It also nurtures the next generation of artists. So we've talked a lot about the importance of mentors and working with young artists in our community. And we do that through arts education programs, through the public programs that we offer to more adult learners. But at the root of it all has always been the artists of San Antonio. And we've got artists on our board of directors, as Ricky and Joe are members of our board of directors. Meredith is an advisory council member and a former board member who served many years on our board.
Yes.
And, you know, it's all about the artists. And that's what it's always been about.
Would the artists like to add to any of that?
You know, Kent Rush would say that it's one of the first institutions that pays artists for being artists.
Right.
Yeah.
And I, you know, it took me a little while to kind of wrap my brain around like what that actually meant. You know, all of us know what it's like to get a show and then you show up and then you need to plaster the walls and you paint the walls and you hang your own work and you know, like, and then like, you know, when it's done, like, you don't know if you're going to get your work back and all these like horror stories and like, and when I exhibited a long time ago, you know, at the Contemporary and you get a check in the mail and you're like, what is this? Like,
Is this a mistake?
The
yeah,
novelty.
like I'm not calling Mary to say that, you know, she accidentally wrote me a check for $500, you know.
Right.
But it's a unique place, and I don't know of another place that does. You know, now that I'm a little bit more established and a little bit older, you know, there are things that happen, right, when you work with big institutions. But what I would say is that the Contemporary has been doing this for a really long time, right? Supporting artists, of artists, for artists.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the founding mission, is to be a leader in the support of artists, so that the payment of artists, which is something that we're very proud of. We're a wage certified organization. Working artists in the greater economy, we're committed to paying artists for no matter how we engage them, for an exhibition, for an artist talk, for a workshop that they may give for San Antonio youth. We pay them a percentage scale of our operating budget. And so that's, you know, often, you know, still sadly, there are lots of organizations, even much larger organizations than the Contemporary, that feel like maybe the opportunity to have an exhibition or to be a part of the program is recognition enough.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Right.
like, take that to the bank. Well, you can't.
Yeah. We're paying you an exposure.
We're paying you
Yeah,
an
exactly.
exposure.
Which,
Yep.
you know, maybe, you know, there's a lot of good that can come out of having an exhibition at a large space, and maybe you do benefit from exposure, but it's important to honor artists as professionals in the
Right.
way that we would any other, you know, working professional or trade.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like in so many places, and Ricky touched on this, is like when you're first starting out, you go and you have your work as part of this, maybe a group show or something like that, and everybody in the building is getting paid in some way. Even the people who come after and they clean up,
Right.
you know,
Right.
they're getting paid in some, as they should, but they're getting paid and the artist is not.
Right.
And the artist, you know, it costs money to make work, you know, materials, framing, presentation, all
Time.
of that time.
Time.
Yeah.
All of
is
that.
money.
Yeah.
And
Time
not
is
only-
money.
And not only, you know, financially, but also emotional, you know. And then you show up and you hang your work and everybody walks out with a little something in their pocket except for the artist. But
Yeah.
the Contemporary, you know, in all of my experience with the Contemporary, we've always gotten something.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to know that, and also that it's I think I'm using the word correctly, ubiquitous, because I come from the spoken word world, and it's the same. The DJ gets paid, the host gets
Right.
paid, the bartender gets paid, the doorman gets paid, but what about the poet on stage,
Right.
And oftentimes people take art for granted.
You get
any
paid
of its
in
form.
snaps.
I
You get
know, it's
paid
so
in
great.
snaps. Yeah.
For all the snaps that I've gotten, and I still don't have I still don't pay the mortgage
and
on
it's-
my house.
It's the same in the dance world as well.
Yeah.
We suffer through that also.
Yeah.
So my question to the group is, how do we cultivate? I mean, you've done such a great job. You know, the Contemporary has done such a great job of cultivating this like culture of this is what we do. We pay our artists. This is how we do this. We need to do this. How do we influence the city and other organizations to follow suit?
That's a huge question.
That's the $1 million question.
I mean, I think just like talking about it in spaces
Yeah.
like this too, building
Yeah.
more awareness
Yeah.
for it. You know, certainly the artists that we work with that, you know, share their experiences when they work, you know, when they are approached for other exhibitions or other opportunities. We try to, you know, educate even very young artists, like the students that we work with in our after school programs and the youth programs, even about the importance of that. We put artists as role models in classrooms too, and talk about that it's a professional role. It's you know and I think just talking about it and sharing resources like Wage that offer a calculator that make it easier for other organizations and other people to kind of figure out what that would mean at their space,
Right.
and makes it easy. And so that, I mean, I think that's just where we start.
Yeah, because even as as an artist, and I started off in photography, and I've been a photographer for a long time, and you go into, at least this is the way it was for me, and I've heard from many artists, like you go into it and you're like, yes, like I love doing this, but on the business end of it, it's not always, like you're not always savvy. And I know for me, it was a big learning curve to be like, oh man, how do I price my services? How do I price my photographic art? So I don't know. Do y'all offer anything like that at the Contemporary? Like
We do. We have held workshops around pricing artwork. We're one of the topics I know that we'll get to is our Red Dot art sale, which is coming up. It's our major fundraiser that's 35 years old this year. Wow. And that's Meredith amazing. Is our honorary artist this year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know that we could expect work from Joe and Ricky also to be a part of Red Dot, but we highlight a single artist's work in a kind of a career spanning exhibition that happens inside of Red Dot. But there are 130 plus or minus other artists in San Antonio that want to share the sales proceeds with the Contemporary to support our programming year round. Mm. And typically we work with, artists who've been a part of Red Dot and who've been a part of our community for, maybe have commercial gallery representation and are in the market a lot. And then those that are first time to Red Dot. And so sort of as we get ready for Red Dot, we often host workshops about pricing artwork to give some guidance about, sort of how do you get started? What sort of, what are you factoring into that price point?
Wow.
Talking about your time, materials, sort of what sort of kind of collector community you've already are coming into it. And they teach at UTSA too, right?
Yeah, we do. We teach professionalism, and some of these things are, and they're not. This is not sexy.
No.
Right, yeah.
Taxes are not sexy.
No, every year it's not.
Sexy. Yeah. But it's really important, and there's a lot of things that I've learned, through trial and error that I pass on to my students that are really important, and pricing's like just the tip of the spear. I mean, there's so many things that allow creative people to stay creative and make a living being creative, right? I use as examples all these people that, Armando Sanchez in town, like he's a family friend, and if horse paintings are selling, he's making horse paintings,
right.
And it really kind of boils down to what you want to do with your life. Once I figure that out, I'm able to help guide a prospective young artist, student, what have you, to achieve their goals. Everybody's goal isn't the same as my goal.
Sure.
And being, whatever their goal may be, I really try to kind of suss that out, and it boils down to all the things that we talk about in professional classes, and these are things that are really, really important. And they're oftentimes like an afterthought for a lot of people and for a lot of programs too. Even the one that I come from, and I made it sort of my mission to kind of really talk to these students that need to know some of this stuff, because I want them to succeed. They're my army. Right. And I'm building an army. Right. Joe's part of my army.
And you're there,
and I'm part of Ken Little's army.
Yeah.
So by de facto, Joe, you're part of Ken Little's army too. Yeah. So, sure. I just think that teaching is such an important role that I never thought was going to be important to me as an artist. And now that I've landed in this place, it's a little bit like an Eden. Right, the food, the tacos are good, the weather's wonderful. I could use a little bit more rain, but the cost of living is excellent.
A little cooler, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit cooler. We'll come over to the pool. The pool's cold. It's extraordinary. But the one small piece of the puzzle that's missing is, educating individuals how to stay creative and how to make this your life, right? And I think that the Contemporary does a really good job at when they include these young artists. The veteranos don't need a class, on how to sell work, but the young people do.
Sure.
And the young people get a lot of experience, from being included in the Red Dot. And when you're included in the Red Dot, it is a feather in their cap. Let me tell you, you see that glint, right, Joe and Meredith? When they get included in the Red Dot, it's like, what? Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
and it's a big deal. And so, yeah, I mean, and that's what, the contemporary means to a lot of San Antonio people way back when, like just being included in anything that was anywhere in this area was a big deal. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really special place. And also, I think that the thing that the professionalism that the contemporary does and that UTSA does and a number of institutions does is unique. I mean, it's not something that happens at a lot of universities.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I love.
It goes back to what a special place San Antonio is, I think. Like we lift each other up and we want to see each other succeed. I always got that sense. I mean, I left San Antonio and lived in the Midwest and worked in Chicago in the arts there for a while before returning. And, with all of the resources that larger cities offer, you would think that it would have like a more connected feel arts community wise, but San Antonio is where it's at as far as like people are really lifting each other up. And and the contemporary wants to help UTSA and all the other educating organizations do away with the idea of the starving artist.
Right.
Sure.
That's,
Yeah.
throw that out the window.
That sounds amazing.
Good idea.
Yeah, we love this idea.
Well, I love that we dove into like the business aspect of it and talked about like the reality of being an artist. But I would love to pivot into talking about the art itself.
Yes.
So, Ricky, my brother from the border.
Yeah.
Growing up in a border city, El Paso, Laredo, it's kind of like living in a bubble, very much so. And you've said that that experience of growing up on the border has definitely been a defining influence. Can you talk a little bit about how that shows up in your work these days?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all you have to do is turn on NPR or the news and see another story about what's the transgressions that are happening for underrepresented people and people that are trying to move from point A to point B. And, it's sad, and I grew up in a community, it's not black and white, I have family members. I joke that I have family members that put people in jail and family members that get them out of jail, and just within the family. And it's a really challenging, situation, but it can't help but like filtrate into, like, I just did a studio visit the other day and I was showing people my work and they were looking at it and they're like, what's that in the little corner? And I was like, that's a drone. And they're like, why is a drone in your, in this like really like placid, composition, like floral and fauna, everybody's having a good time. And it's like, what's the deal with the drone? And I was like, cause it's like a presence, like, you're being watched, and everything you do is being monitored. And it's not the border that I grew up with, and it's a different kind of border nowadays, and it's infectious. It infiltrates the work. I don't ever really think about it. Like I don't like purposefully go. I'm putting that in my work. It's something that seasons my work every single time I make something. It's in the work, and at this point I don't even recognize it anymore. Like people point it out all the time, and I know it's there, but it's just part of my DNA. Like as an artist, I don't have to explain why I put ice helicopters in my work or whatever, because it's part of my alphabet, right? It's part of my language. So yeah, I mean it's and being in San Antonio, I'm not far enough away from the border that it's here too, yeah. Right? And so I'm constantly being reminded, and I don't consider myself an overtly political artist. Some of my work tends to be a little bit heavier than others, but it's just part of my DNA as an artist when I work. I trust and I'm confident in the things that I make and the iconography that I use, that I don't have a formula anymore. Yeah. regardless of what I've told you, Joe, about the formula for a good work of art.
No, it makes total sense. It's really hard to kind of separate where you come from with what you're producing, right?
Yeah.
Joe, speaking of, your work confronts a lot of like erasure and assimilation, right, of the Native American community coming from Oklahoma. You know, like, do you feel like there's a responsibility to tell those kinds of stories?
I think so. I think kind of like going off of what Ricky was saying, you know, the place is there. It's in the work. You know, the history of the place is embedded in the work. I think a lot of my work deals with a shared and collective history. And so while I work with personal experience or experiences of my direct family, there's a larger story happening. You know, there's a larger history that I think many people can follow and understand as their own experience. And so I think I do feel responsibility to share those stories, to you know, those stories were shared with me. And it's a continuation, I think, you know, through the art, to get the art to tell the story, to continue. You know, for one of the things about Oklahoma City that I was frustrated with when I left was a lot of the art that I saw I didn't see us in it. I didn't see me in it. Right. And, you know, even at that time, you know, there was a lot of cowboys and Indians. You know, those were the things that were getting through were a lot of this Western art. And we had great and amazing native artists, but the opportunities, they weren't at the forefront for them. And so I think continuing the work that they started and that they did and trying to continue to push it to the forefront, I do feel a responsibility to that. And hopefully the work engages the next generation and pushes that forward, you know, continually.
No, your work was, because I took some time to look through everybody's work, and your work is there's so many different parts to it. I mean, photography and but all of the stories that you're telling through the work are really striking. They kind of like stop you in your tracks. So it was there was one where it was like you were walking down a long street. I mean, it took you like, yes. Yeah. Just, I mean, and for my own curiosity, what is the significance of that piece?
So, so that piece is specific to my great-great-great-great-grandmother, who was part of forced removal from the East. We were in Alabama, Georgia, Florida area, and, you know, because of the policies of the U.S. government, you know, and enacted by Andrew Jackson, we were forced removed from our homelands and marched to Oklahoma. And along the way, many people didn't make it. You know, a lot of people passed. And I'll just say my great grandmother was on that march. She was in that walk with her direct family, you know, my ancestors, and she was orphaned. And so she was brought the rest of the way by a couple who found her. You know, this is the story that's been shared with us, been passed down to us. And along the way, I think it was in Fort Smith, Arkansas, there was a checkpoint and you had to write your name down. And she couldn't speak her name. She was a toddler, maybe a couple of years old or something like that. And so they wrote her name down in Muskogee, which is my native language. They wrote her name down, and the translation of it is baby girl, because they didn't know her name. And so that became her name. And so there was an organization who had put up these signs in my parents' hometown of Okima, Oklahoma. And my sister had sent me a photograph right before Christmas holiday. We get a break as a professor, teacher, educator. We look forward to those breaks, going back home, seeing the family, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
so I went with the intention of, I'm going to take a photograph, because photography is at the forefront of my brain most of the time. So I was like, I'm going to take a photograph and see what I can come up with, because I knew, I was working on a large exhibition that would be at the Contemporary that February. So I got there and I couldn't find the sign that my sister had sent me the photograph of. Instead, I found this other sign that was my grandmother's name, and it said Nini, which means path. So it was her path. And so this organization had put up these signs for like the first peoples that arrived in Oklahoma. And I eventually found the other sign. And so I decided that I would walk her path as a means of resistance to like policies of termination. Right. And so I walked that path to essentially to walk along with her.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
That's what that piece was. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It was one that stood out to me, and I was like, I got to ask him about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Meredith.
Yes.
What about you? So your art challenges that idea of permanence, and embraces variation instead of uniformity.
Right.
Where does that philosophy come from?
Well, impatience, perhaps.
Same.
I'm a printmaker,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to make additions. And making additions, if you have complicated prints, and mine are pretty complicated, is a real drag. And
To put it mildly.
I got impatient, and I started thinking, I started working with multiple pieces that I could interchange, and I could manipulate.
Right.
And I felt that was just like, that just opened up a whole world for me, because I've got stacks of things that I can work with that are my printmaking plates. They're meant to be interchangeable. One level is one like a map, and one level is atmosphere, and another level is, a close-up. I mean, it's just, and I can put them together and kind of have them tell a story that isn't actually delineated. It's up to the viewer.
It isn't so literal.
Yeah, but I got to the point where additions were a drag.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy building things, and so I essentially build my prints.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know that in your bio, a lot of your work is influenced by like mapping and pathways and like the forces of nature. And how does you connect that to the human experience?
To the human experience?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. Well, I started that actually before I went back to graduate school. My son, who at that point was 16, took flying lessons.
Oh, wow.
And he got his pilot's license
At 16?
as 17.
At 17. Wow.
Still.
I know. It's like, geez.
And I was fascinated with that and flying, and I started flying with his instructors. and taking photographs, and like, in a little 2-person, 1-engine plane hanging out the back window, taking photographs of everything that we were flying over. And that started to be my vocabulary. The atmosphere, the landscape, the water, all of those things.
Right.
And what I'm doing is my way of combining those things to give different senses of time and different senses of feeling.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
amazing.
It was, and he is now working for a company that, is very involved with everything that's looking forward, future looking. And when he wrote his dissertation, he said, "Mom, you don't need to read this." He said, "All you have to do is look at this picture and you'll know what it's about."
Interesting. Yeah.
And it was about trying to detect whether an airplane was flying to you or away from you. And it was really funny. "Mom, you don't have to read this."
Right. Just look at this. Yeah.
Look at this. Yeah. So anyway, I've done, that has influenced a lot of the way I think. And the pieces that I'm doing now have a lot of stellar aspects to them. It's changed
Yeah.
over the years.
That's amazing. I look forward to seeing it at the Red Dot for sure.
It's the cover of the invitation.
Yes.
We were talking about it earlier. I want to get back to this idea of the personal as political that Ricky, you brought up earlier. The idea of art as activism, because like we were talking about, we can't separate who we are and where we come from the things that we create. And nowadays, the personal is political. So I like the phrase artivism, where the art is activism. Do you feel like there is a separation between art and activism? Because you said earlier, like, I don't consider myself a political artist, but some of your paintings do make a political statement, whether that was intentional or not.
Right.
I feel that like in this climate where, it may not be in the forefront of our minds when we're making work, right? Like I think about the work that Meredith makes, right? And I think about the macro and the micro, her example of being in the sky, looking down on the earth and feeling a sense of, and this is me filling in the blanks, right? Like me feeling like you're small, right? And you're looking down at something that I know that road, or I know that landscape, right? But when you're seeing it at 30,000 feet or something, like it doesn't feel real, right? And when you have that experience as a human being, looking into the mouth of the Grand Canyon, or jumping, from a plane and skydiving or something, like you have this like out of body experience, like, or when you're swimming right in the ocean and you look and there's so much underneath you that you can't take it all in, and you're this little thing that has zero power, right? When I think of these kinds of things, even something that you make, I think of it like immediately. I think of, okay, so we're in this environment, and San Antonio is getting hotter, and like why is it getting hotter, and and so everything, quite literally everything, the weather is political, right? Not take off the table, my people not being able to, being arrested, and sent back to countries that they haven't been born from. But, like you look at the world, and these things from a plane are changing, are changing our relationship to these things that we're looking at. And so when I look at your work, and I think of the patterns that you create, and you juxtapose them against other patterns that are sometimes recognizable and sometimes not recognizable. It puts me in a place where I feel, okay, yeah, like I am swimming, in this ocean, and I don't know where my bottom is, and I'm in a plane and I don't know where the ground is. I thought I knew what the ground was, and I don't know what the ground is, and maybe it's the academic in me, but like I immediately think that everything that I look at or everything I think about is not the thing. Right. It's a metaphor for something, right? It's not the word is not the thing, right? There's a famous person that said this. The word is not the thing. The map is not the experience, right? And so all of that becomes really, really political. And hopefully, down the line, I don't have to think about this stuff, but right now it seems like I'm hyper aware of everything that happens, like everything. Why, the other day I was like, why aren't there so many, like, where'd the bats go? Like I was thinking the other day, I was like I know that there was more bats last year and the previous year. And I was like, where are the Mexican free-tailed bats? Like, I went to see them. They're there. Yeah. Oh, I know they're there, but they weren't coming down and getting the water, but I was, stuff is changing, and I feel it's part of my DNA to talk about it, but not talk about it, right? Like to not direct the circus of my work, but like to allow it to season what I do. And I see that in your work, Meredith.
Well, it's all about changeability and looking at things from different angles and putting together those things and changing them.
Yeah, yeah. And making, the viewer aware of that change, right? Like, hey, pay attention to this, I mean, I think about the work that Joe makes also, the work that Joe makes, like he alluded to the fact that, your community or people rather didn't pay attention to the work that was being made, right? Yeah. It's not that they weren't making it. They probably were making it, but they weren't making it. But people weren't like going, hey, you should pay attention to this. Yeah. And so, and that's why I think is really important about the work that you make is because right now the climate is like, oh, yeah, the work that Joe Harjo is making is important. Yeah,
I agree. I think something that you said, I agree with. I mean, all that you said, I agree with. But I also feel that right now, as artists and makers, it's all political because we're all under attack from these political policies. We're being challenged to watch what we say or watch what we do, or we lose this funding or we lose this exhibition or whatever. And I feel like right now, all art is under attack and all art is political. But I will say that as Native people, I feel like our identities are political. We're born into a political identity because of our relationship to the land and how that has been politicized, and how by existing, we present as a barrier to fully claim that land, and to fully claim the experience of that land. I mean, we have, traditions of fishing, that's politicized. Where can we fish at? Who has the rights to these minerals or to this water? Or, all of those things come into play with Native identity. We're force removed from our homeland. That's a political act, against us. And yeah, I just think right now, like you're saying, everything is politicized. We're all in it.
And we have to use that framework that they've given us. Yeah. Right. It's like you can't fish in that stream. Well, that stream is part of this community. Yes. Right. And it's not even, we don't even consider it owned. Yes. Like it's not our stream. Yeah.
And it's not, and it's not your stream either. It's not. Right?
So, again, I keep thinking about like the macro and the micro, like
Yeah.
I think about Meredith's work and when you're like in the middle of nowhere, like way high up, and you're looking at these like design elements that look really abstract, but it's a field
Yeah.
of cotton or wheat or something, and it looks beautifully like some kind of textile that you would,
Yeah.
and then it looks like this, right? But then whose is it? You
Yeah.
know, and who's paying for them to not farm it, or to farm it and not bring it to it's a lot,
It's a lot.
And I think about that all the time. I mean, I talk to my students all the time. I go, "You think your work is non-objective, and like it doesn't have any like political meaning? Get out of here, dude."
Yeah.
I mean,
the word Indian is a political word. It's written into political policy. It's written into treaties and understanding of who we are. And the word immigrant, it's getting politicized in the same exact way. It means this thing where it used to mean something else or have multiple meanings.
Mary, I'm curious, as we're having this conversation, as the curator of these kind of spaces, right, where the work gets to be exhibited, how much does this influence the exhibits themselves, the way the pieces are in conversation with each other? How much does the political and social environment of the time influence kind of what goes up on the walls?
Well, it's at the root of it. I mean, I would say, just as a point of order and to clarify, the exhibitions come about under the good guidance of our chief curator and director of exhibitions, Jacqueline Saragosa McGilvray. Jack does great work in working with the artist and keeping her ear to the ground and finger on the pulse of what is in conversation. But I think artists are oracles. Like they've always led the way. And I think, because they're expressing something that a lot of us are not brave enough to, truth that we're not brave enough to share so publicly with everyone, in full judgment of others, and so, what we're all thinking about and what we're grappling with, what we're commiserating about, what we're feeling definitely comes through in the gallery, because that is at the root of contemporary art. It's coming from our current moment. So what all our lived experiences are. So it's there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about contemporary art then, shall we? We have academics in the room, because as someone who doesn't live in the art world, as it were, that's a whole nother conversation, right? Classical art, portraits, landscapes, et cetera, contemporary art, very different, right? For the most part. What is like a misconception about contemporary art that people have that you would just like to be like, yes, no?
I feel that, there's a misconception that the contemporary artists don't understand what they're making, that their lived experience has no value. I come from academia, obviously, but I was really influenced by self-taught artists, right, growing up. And I still feel that there's a little bit of a hangover culturally, right? And it's, and it stems from the fact that how we're raising our children, right? How we're educating them about creativity and what the role creativity plays in your life, right? There's a modernist idea that, you go into the studio and nobody talks to you and you're grumpy and you make your work and then when you come out, you don't know how to talk about it or whatever. And that's foolhardy, that's not like the way artists work, even if they don't have the verbal articulation to explain all of the process or the methodology or the conceptual idea that they're dealing with, it is actually in the work, right? There's a thing called technical narrative that the work itself, the mark making, has an energy that the viewer can sense and feel, and it informs them about the work. And it doesn't have to be verbal. It's something that you see. And I knew, immediately when I moved to San Antonio, that, there were all of these communities here in San Antonio, self-taught artists. People have gone to SAC for a couple of years, and then now they're artists. People have gone through academia, people that are transplants from other places, and they all deserve a place at the table. And I remember visiting with these people, and they're like, "You're Latino," and they're like, "You're not this Latino," and because I was from a different community, and not all brown people are the same, and so it took a little while for them to kind of allow me to kind of sit at the table, but when I sat at the table, I recognized that there were all of these different communities, right, that they may not be able to write a thesis statement about the work that they make, but the energy and their ideas are in their work, and they make really, really powerful work. And that, that's another, feather in the cap of San Antonio is our community, because we have that. Like, it's like so strong here in San Antonio, stronger than any community that I've ever lived in. The fact that people are able, right, to say something to the viewer, right? And it doesn't have to be something that an academic would recognize as something that acknowledges that they understand what they're doing. There is like really powerful work that comes out of San Antonio. And having recognized that, having seen that, I go into other communities and I seek it out. I seek out these people, and I'm not unique, right? Like museums have been doing this for a long time, giving retrospectives to like self-taught artists for a number of years now, about 20 years. And so I think it's a trend to kind of acknowledge the fact that there are different ways to be successful as an artist. It's not just through academia.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to ask, and this has been kind of a topic that is like underlying, and then it generally does come up. But in today's world, we're flooded with digital noise, and everyone's so fast-paced, right? Like, just go on social media, and videos are getting shorter, things are getting smaller, attention spans are shortening, and then there's this whole other world of AI. How do y'all navigate that? How do you teach your students or people, your family, your friends, to slow down and just really embrace the art?
Good question.
That's the other $1 question.
I mean, to answer this question very simply, from like a museum exhibition design way of trying to prompt people to slow down, typically we try to, install the artwork that, intentionally, as you move through an exhibition, gives you moments of pause, or, maybe there is, a more extended label or something that encourages you to dig deeper, or there's a bench for you to sit in, to sit and to spend some time with an individual artwork, kind of creating these speed bumps for people. We do often bring the exhibiting artist in to talk about their work too. And I think whenever you can hear the artist speak about what, how that work came to be, like, that also encourages some like deep thinking and deep viewing. But it is a challenge because, I think we all suffer from our attention spans eroding, and people expecting to, we do see also in the museum more people taking, a quick snap of something on the wall on their phone for sharing on social media, or maybe not really looking at it. Maybe they'll go back hopefully and look at their photos, but having the experience of the work in person at the scale and in the space that it was, meant to be seen is an unparalleled experience.
Right. Yeah. Because I know, like, I saw some of your work, and everybody has their websites, and it's like, yeah, there's a photo of your work on the website, but it does not compare to seeing it in real time, in real space, seeing it, viewing it. Yeah.
And we try to make it easy for people to visit. We have extended hours in the evenings also, just, and trying to encourage people to come to spaces like ours. So, don't rely on social media or just the website version of the exhibition. Like, come check it out. Yeah, exactly.
In real life.
Yeah.
In real life.
And you're inclusive, which is really
Right.
wonderful. Bringing in kids, bringing in adults, giving out
People
information.
of all ages and abilities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do y'all feel like museum etiquette has changed? Like, coming from a dance background, I have seen over the years that there is no theater etiquette anymore. It's kind of getting lost in the sauce. I don't know if that's been an experience for y'all.
What's theater etiquette?
I'll tell you what
Exactly.
theater etiquette is. One time, a friend of mine and I road trip to go see Wicked. We were in college, and we showed up in the clothes that we wore because we just drove 4 hours, and people were like, "You didn't dress up for the theater?"
Right.
It's like, no, I just drove 4 hours to be here. We didn't dress up.
Right. So, like, people used to dress up to go and see a show, go to the theater. I mean, I still do that, and I make my kids dress up. I'm like, no, you're not wearing jeans to the theater.
Right. It commands respect.
Right, it does.
Yeah,
Or like people going in and out like during a performance instead of waiting for a break or intermission. Like, that's part of theater etiquette. But I feel like people are losing that. So I don't know if that's been an experience with y'all are people losing etiquette, or is it
still
there
quiet?
Right. Is there
contemplative, solemn space?
Well, I feel that, in addition to this idea of like how you exist in an art space, what we do have, you talked about AI earlier, is that, we're entering a new chapter where people can scan something, right? And get information. It's actually literally part of artwork sometimes, like where you scan something and it goes to a website and you get a deeper meaning about like whatever you're looking at, or it's interactive, right? Like, and at that point. And, I think that the viewer's experience is changing quite a bit. And I think that, or I feel that at the Contemporary, we do a pretty good job at trying to help all the different communities that come and visit, our area, and this visual art experience that they come to have is that they young and old, all the different individuals that need certain kinds of ways in which that help them experience the work of art to the fullest. That is the kind of thing that is happening in a lot of museums that I see, right? It's less about like what you wear to the museum. Certainly you should dress up when you go to openings, but it's more, how an individual, when they walk through that door, how they use technology, the computers that we all have in our pockets, how we use technology to help us gain a better experience when they're in that exhibition, right? And I think that we do a good job. A lot of museums, and this is like right at the forefront, right? Like we talked about, or you mentioned AI. This is right on the precipice of like what museums are talking about. Like how do you serve, individuals that are hearing impaired, or that their mode of communication is this, like the screen. How do you reach that person? So I think it's fascinating.
Because that is their lens. Like, that is how
Yeah.
they see the world.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remain optimistic about AI and think of it as a tool for connecting with people and, engaging with them more deeply. So I hope that, audio guides, like things that would take hours to produce in, just a few years ago. Like some AI has made that a lot easier, and that's great for people and for artists. So we'll see where things go.
Well, speaking of the museum experience and seeing the work live in person, at the Contemporary, you all have an exhibit coming up, the Red Dot at the Contemporary. Can you talk, Mary, a little bit about what that is and what people can expect, coming to the exhibit?
So this year we're celebrating 35 years of the Red Dot Art Sale and Show. And what this is a fundraiser for the Contemporary, which is a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit. So it's a survey of San Antonio artists who have generously agreed to donate 50% of the sales proceeds of the sale of their artwork to the Contemporary. So in addition to raising valuable funds to help us put on the exhibitions, to send artists to Berlin, to do the youth programs, it also functions as a survey of San Antonio artists, because there's not another annual exhibition of more than 100 San Antonio artists in one place. And so in the first years of Red Dot, it used to be just a one-night party. And since the pandemic, it's grown into a larger exhibition. So this year's Red Dot is November 12th is the party night and the big debut. And it will be on view through the first weekend in January. So you have some opportunity to to come and check it out, the night of the party, and then throughout that, that course of the exhibition, and get to see what artists in our community are doing. And it's a really diverse presentation of artists. So working in all different media from different perspectives, artists that are more established in our community, artists who are first time to Red Dot, and newer artists for our collectors to encounter. And our goal is that all of the artists who are participated in Red Dot find collectors for their work. So ideally it's 100% sold out, those artists, make their permanent, make their permanent homes in San Antonio collections. We have a lot of collectors who, come to Red Dot to kind of check out what's new, to follow an artist's career more deeply. We have people who, will reliably collect Ricky or Joe or Meredith's work year after year. And then the special highlight of Red Dot is, we honor patrons in our community, donors who have been not only important to the Contemporary, but important, more large scale. So we have 2 honorary patrons, and then we have an arts education champion and an honorary artist. And the artist gets a larger mini exhibition, or I shouldn't say mini, an exhibition, a large exhibition inside of the largest, and has, the other artists in Red Dot are only exhibiting one artwork on the walls in the show. The honorary artist gets a whole space to kind of showcase how the trajectory of their work, and so that's a really hopefully meaningful experience for the honorary artist as much as it is for the Contemporary. So, yeah.
And I was reading, it's like, because there's a price range for.
There is a range. But that for collectors who are maybe don't have as much capital to work with, to collectors who are looking for more larger scale pieces by more renowned artists. So. Generally, there's something for everyone.
Yeah, which is, I love that.
Yeah. And I would say a new feature to Red Dot last year, and this we'll be bringing it back this year, is the Red Dot Shop, which offers smaller scale artworks by San Antonio artists. And there's some, jewelry and more, like art objects for sale. And those tend to be at a lower price point because they're smaller scale. And so really there's no excuse not to go home without an artwork.
I agree. Yes. Go home with something.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're not collecting it for your home, like for your office is also good, or a collect, if you're, I know that, University Health has a large art collection, and their Salud Arte program. And Red Dot is a place where they have added to that collection too. So it's not just about individuals. It can be about organizations as well.
So for anyone that doesn't know the significance of a red dot at an art show.
Good question. Yes. Well, and it's funny because it's the event is 35 years long, but people still trip up and say like blue dot or a red dot is the little round wall label or label that goes over the price on an artwork to designate that it has been taken. It's been sold. So, yes.
Red dots for everybody.
Red dots for everybody. All through the gallery.
Well, speaking of the honorary artist,
Yes.
What does it mean to be part of this collection?
It's a big honor. It really, I was very surprised. And it's beginning to sink in. I'm very, very pleased. And it's good for me in a way that I'm looking at my work in a range of what's been done. Jack came and looked through everything. And it made me start thinking and looking back and looking, forward and where is it coming from? Things that you don't do when they just sit in a drawer.
Yeah.
So.
And Meredith has, as I shared before, she's a former board member and a member of our advisory council, and she's been a part of the Contemporary for so long. She's also hung her fair share of red dots and helped organize them
yes,
too.
I have.
So she knows the event from from the behind the scenes, and it's now such an honor for us to be able to honor somebody so prominent in our community for her artwork and for her history with the organization.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And such a talented group in the room today. And I think my final question is, with your legacy as an artist, what do you hope remains when the work outlives you?
Well, that some of the work, of course, remains. That's a complicated question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that people, that there's a memory of what you have accomplished, and that there's a place for it in the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
For me, I'm thinking of my students, and when I first talk to my students about legacy, there's kind of a response that typically goes like, oh, that's just ego, and it's just, it's elitism, or it's, they don't see themselves in that, in having a legacy. They don't attach to that. And I tell them and I convince them that everyone has a legacy and everyone's story is important. Everyone's work, your work, is as important as any of the artists we've looked at or that we've celebrated. And it's so important for you to get started on the work to maintain that legacy now, through documenting the work, archiving the work, making a record of where it is, if you sold it, who'd you sell it to, all of those things. But I think the important part of it is that you put something down, you put your name on it, you make a statement, and you give that to the people that are coming up behind you, that you give that to the future, essentially, that they will be able to see, similarities in you and similarities or in the work, the type of work they might want to make, that there's a precedent that's been set and they can continue that, That's what I hope for.
I mean, yeah, I mean, dovetailing on what you're saying, I mean, I talked about Dr. Jacinto Quiarte in the very beginning of this conversation, and unless you have role models, right? Unless you go to museums and see artists that look like you, it is you don't have any roadmap, right, to follow. And when you see artists that look like you in major museums, right? It's like it's transformative, in terms of where you see your potential, like what your potential is as an artist, what you think like your end goal could possibly be, My artwork, your artwork, Joe and Meredith our artworks are gonna outlive us, right? And I'm excited about that, but I'm also excited about the fact that when someone looks at my work and they see my surname, they see Armendariz, and they recognize it as being of Mexican descent, and that for me that is really important. Because that's everything, right? Kerry James Marshall talks about, the idea of infiltrating the museum as like right, as an aggressive act.
It's also true for women.
Absolutely, everybody that's underrepresented is lumped into these people that I'm talking about, right? And if you don't, you see yourself, right? If you don't see women in the museum, if you don't see women of color, if you don't see underrepresented people, if you don't see, Pacific Islanders, in a museum, like you have no roadmap. And that's a really important task that I never thought I would be thinking about, when I started making things, but yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm at the twilight of my career, but like, it's definitely something I think about, like now, as opposed to, having my name in lights in New York, like I do think about like legacy. I do think about the people, the army that I'm raising.
Yeah. So he's part of your army.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How proud are you to have a student?
Joe walks on water, and and Meredith has guided me too. Like when I was a student, so I'm very thankful for all my progenitors, all the people that had those ideas and thoughts and were kind enough to guide me, when I was not good. and I was thankful that they didn't tell me how bad I was. Just keep going. Just keep going. Well, that's exactly the right answer, right? It's not the point.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Well, thank you to the four of you for the fantastic conversation. And I think for a lot of the people listening to this, might be their first kind of foray, the word escapes me, entry into the world of art, right? Their first exposure to it. So this has been really fantastic. We have a tradition on this show where we close with a series of speed round.
Yes.
Which does not mean that it has to be fast. You can think about it, right? It just means that we're going to ask a question and just kind of say your answer.
First word, first thought. Yeah.
Say your answer. Don't, write a dissertation and give it to us on it. And I have one that's not on here, so I want to start with that.
You want to start?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and we'll just go around the circle.
Yes.
And then when Nina says hers, we'll go around the circle from there. So it's not always the same person going first. Favorite and least favorite medium to work in?
Photo.
Both favorite and least favorite?
Photo.
Photo.
Well, I don't make work, so skip.
Oil paint. I'm allergic to turpentine.
And your favorite?
What?
Your favorite?
My favorite is my printmaking. Yeah.
All right. One word to describe your art. Just one.
No.
Evolving.
Question, inquisitory.
Walking.
Okay.
A artist, living or gone, that you'd love to have dinner with. Just one.
Just one.
Or three. There's no rules here.
Oh, Gabriel Roscoe.
James Luna.
Arthur Osber, one of my instructors in my undergraduate and graduate program.
I was going to say Carrie James Marshall because you got me thinking about him.
All right. A song that best represents your creative process.
We'll start over here.
Going backwards, huh? Right now, I thought about this because this was on the list. And like, wait, this, that. No. Right now, and I would say this changes quite a bit, but I would say Saturday Sun by Nick Drake.
Oh, La Malagueña.
All the Good Times.
I know I do, but I was like, I was trying to conjure a song.
I stole your answer, didn't I?
Thank you. That's why I have no answer. Saved.
The last piece of art that truly moved you, that wasn't your own. The last piece of art that truly moved you, that wasn't your own.
Well, I helped install my stepdaughter's show that was here at Blue Star. And I'm still musing over it, and I'm still thinking about it. So I'd say that's the most recent.
Awesome. Your stepdaughter's name, in case anyone wants to look her up.
Rebecca Olson. She's the president of Santa Reparata International School of Art that my husband and I started in Florence.
Awesome.
Big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Mary?
I was reading an article today, and it was on a feature on Richard Longo's work, and like one of his newer large-scale charcoal works just it blew me away. And this is not even seeing it in person. So
There's a series of prints by Edgar Heap Birds, and they're red, and he writes with white text. And it doesn't make sense unless I read at least 3 of them. So I have them pulled up. So one says, saved grace on the American brutality. Suffer, dance, run, sweet land liberty. Natives survive in spite of the empire.
When I saw the Raft of the Medusa, Krauts Raft of the Medusa, just, I forget the name of the term in German where you're overwhelmed by what you're looking at. Ziegengeist. I'm pronouncing that correctly or incorrectly.
it's got to be a geist.
Ziegengeist,
Yeah.
something. It's something like that.
Yeah.
But it's where you forget your feet. You forget your body. And I was looking at the Raft of the Medusa, and people were getting in my way, and it didn't. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter because where it's at. It's like, and it didn't matter. Like I was okay. Just it's very emotional.
All right. And your advice to the next generation of artists in one sentence.
Don't stop.
Which way are we going? Keep walking.
Don't stop. I mean, the second you stop, that's it. Yeah. Don't stop.
Don't get caught up in what's popular.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought you were going to say, don't get caught. And I was like, oh. Maybe. Mary?
Lead with generosity.
Amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
I have good news for you. You won the game.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us here and for the Contemporary, for hosting, and y'all. This has been a wonderful and enlightening conversation with all of y'all. It's so wonderful to hear your perspectives and to learn more about your art. I mean, so I'm excited to see more of your work and as y'all evolve. But yeah, I kind of want to just go around the table and just say, where can people find you? If you have a website, if you have social media that people can find you on. Yeah. We'll start with Joe.
You can, well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for having us on. This has been great. You can find me on my website. It is joeharjo.com. And I have Instagram. It's in the letters ND Instagram. So spell out ND Instagram. Yeah.
I'll put it right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. This has been very generous and a really interesting conversation with everybody. And I love sharing a table with you, Meredith.
For sure.
Yeah. And you too, Joe. You're all right.
You're okay.
Meredith is better. Anyway, RickyArmendariz.com is where you can find me.
And I'm MeredithDean.com, but it's not caught up. That'll inspire me to get it caught up. There you go. Yeah. And thank you. This has been absolutely wonderful. And Ricky, Joe, it's very special.
It's been our pleasure.
Yeah.
Have our conversation.
And I'd like to pile on the gratitude. It's been so wonderful being here with artists I admire so deeply and who give so much to their community. And Chibi and Nina, thank you for elevating their voices. And I'm the executive director at the Contemporary, and you can find us at contemporarysa.org.
Yeah, and let's do one.
Talk about giving so much to the community. The Contemporary.
Let's plug one more time.
And
the Red
November
Dot.
12th.
Yes. Yeah. Tell us more about like Red Dot dates and all of that.
All of the information can be found on our website, contemporarysa.org. The big party is November 12th. That's the opening for Red Dot. It's a great night. It's the best art party in San Antonio. And it's your first opportunity to see Meredith's work in the exhibition, to add some artwork by Ricky and Joe to your collection, amongst others. And it's at the Contemporary, and then it's followed up by a silent dance party at Brick. So into the late night. So yeah, so it's a great night, and it's a Wednesday night. Yes, a silent disco. You wear a headset, and there are 3 different channels of DJs. That's not the point. The art is the point. It's about supporting our arts community and the artists in our community and organizations like the Contemporary at Blue Star. Yeah. But we'll see you all there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, thank y'all again.
I'm already putting it in my calendar. I'm telling my family to go.
Yeah.
Like, we will be there.
It's going to be awesome.
And thank you, both of you. This has been amazing.
Who said this was their first podcast?
Ricky.
Okay. And also, all right.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're honored. Yeah. We love that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, y'all. So thank you for joining us here on Candid and Curious. This has been our show. Catch us every Wednesday. A new episode releases every Wednesday at 3:00, and we will see you next time.
Bye.